Good morning.
Good morning po.
Morning. So may I know who is the presenter for today?
Kami po, ma'am.
Okay. May first subject naman na kayo, no? Nakapag-pray naman.
Opo. Yes po.
Okay, very good. Sino ang host ko?
Ako po, ma'am.
Patricia?
Yes po.
Okay. I'll make you the host na. Patricia, pa-accept na lang ng mga classmates yung nagjo-join. Thank you. Hi, Grandma.
Ma'am, mag-i-start na po.
Yes po.
Ma'am, wait lang po. Wala pa po kasi yung mga kagrupo ko eh.
Okay po, take your time.
So, good morning, everyone. Today, we will proceed to our icebreaker. Wait. Nakikita niyo po yung screen? So, who would like to answer number 1? Yung magbo-volunteer ba? Okay, ako na lang pipili. Ian Mendoza.
Is the practice. Ano tama, pili ako sa dalawang choices?
Oo.
Okay.
Oo.
Is the practice of assessing a culture by its own standards rather than viewing it through the lens of one's own culture. Yung sagot ko, I think, cultural relativism.
Ano?
Cultural relativism. Yun.
So, tignan natin kung tama. Wait. Okay, tama yung sagot ni Ian, cultural relativism. Next question. Ito, pipili din kayo sa choices if ano yung sagot. Glycel.
It is a belief in the superiority of their own culture and ethnocentrism.
What is your answer?
Ethnocentrism.
Okay, let us check. So, tama yung sagot ni Glycel, ethnocentrism. Next question. Can you please answer, Jai?
The opposite of ethnocentrism and refers to the belief that another culture is superior to one's own. Is it xenophobia?
Let's check. Wait. Oh, ethnocentrism yung correct answer dun sa question number 3. The opposite of ethnocentrism. In the question number 4, can you please answer, Amir?
It is the fear of what is perceived as foreign or strange. Xenophobia.
Let us check.
Letter B.
Tama. Next question. Ingrid, can you please answer the next question? Bianca. Wala. Kent, ikaw na lang.
cultures have blank and blank. Um, but I don't have any idea.
Who wants to answer number 5? Meron ba kayong idea?
I know
Ako
na
po.
Ay, joke lang.
Sige po, kung sino po yun.
Tangible and intangible po.
So let us check if your answer is correct. So tama si Erica. Next question. Question number 6. Who wants to answer? Jailers. Jailers, are you there?
Pat,
Ay, gusto sumagot. Ha? Sino yan?
oh, Pat, Jai.
Sige. Sige.
Ano, are those that are produced and created based on specific and practical purposes and aesthetic values tangible?
Okay, let us check if your answer is correct. So tama, tangible yung answer. So ayun lang yung yung games namin ngayon. Nakabase siya sa past lesson. Let us proceed to our lesson for this day. In the introduction of our lesson, our topic is rinig po yung sound.
Opo.
All about looking back at human biocultural and social evolution. In this lesson, you will learn the human biocultural and social evolution which help a lot in improving our society. In the introduction of our lesson, we will know the macroevolution. Macroevolution focuses on the formation of new species and on the evolutionary relationship between groups of species. The term species is often defined as a population capable of interbreeding, of producing viable, fertile offspring. These species are reproductively isolated. For example, frogs in a farmer's pond are the same species as those in the neighboring pond, even though the two populations may never interbreed. When we say speciation, it is an evolutionary process by which a new species comes into being. It also occurs when a group within a species separates from other members of its species and develops its own unique characteristics. As Darwin said in his theory, individuals of a species are not identical. Traits are passed from generation to generation. More offspring are born than can survive, and only the survivors of the competition for resources will reproduce. They also adapt to this because of the changing environment. There is so many theory about where humanity came from, like continental drift, theory, and many more. But we are focusing on this theory of human evolution. Macroevolution marked by millions of tiny adaptations. These adaptations tend to take place with four different patterns. The four main processes of macroevolution are speciation, species selection, punctuated equilibrium, and gradualism. What is speciation? Speciation lengthy process by which one species goes through enough microevolutionary changes to become an entirely new species. The second one is species selection. Large-scale natural selection in which an entire species, not just one organism, may become extinct if they cannot survive. The third one is punctuated equilibrium, pattern in which a quick succession of evolutionary changes is followed by a period of stasis without any evolutionary changes and typically ends in extinction. The last one is gradualism, pattern of macroevolution that indicates a slow, gradual evolutionary process that is ongoing. This video is an example of speciation.
Here, on a small planet not unlike our own, live a race of creatures called lumpties. For millennia, they lived, worked, and played, and had plenty of fun. Unfortunately, due to a freak galactic accident, their world changed considerably. The land masses drifted apart, some to the frozen north, and some to the warmer south. The northern landmass became very cold over time, while the southern one became very warm indeed. The race of lumpties was split into two groups, each inhabiting their own unique land mass, and so they became isolated from each other. Look at what happened to the tribes of lumpties as their environments changed. Each group of lumpties have adapted, over many generations, to suit the environment in which they live. This is called adaptive radiation. How will this change of environment affect their appearance? And why have these changes taken place? Over time, the lumpties changed so much that they finally became a new species. This is called allopatric speciation.
This one is an example of natural selection. Try to observe this picture. It shows the difference between gradualism and punctuated equilibrium. For gradualism, changes in species are slow and gradual, occurring in small periodic changes, whereas for punctuated equilibrium, evolution occurs in spurts of relatively rapid change with long periods of non-change.
In early humans, humans and their ancestors are distinct among the hominoids for bipedalism, a special form of locomotion on 2 feet. Their larger brains and special locomotion constitute the most striking differences between contemporary people and our closest primate relatives. Tracing the roots of human evolution is done by determining whether a fossilized hominoid is bipedal or an animal using only two legs for walking. There are several ways to determine bipedalism, such as looking at the curves of the spine, the shape of the pelvis, and the shape of the foot bones, among others. Based on the research, our earliest ancestors are hailed from the Australopithecines, which were also bipedal but had small brain size in proportion to their bodies. Australopithecines are derived from the Latin word Australopithecus, which means southern ape. Theories said that from one species of Australopithecus, the Homo habilis evolved, which had smaller teeth and larger brains compared to Australopithecines. This implies that Homo habilis most probably exercised higher abilities to learn and were better at processing information than the Australopithecines. Besides, the dates of the projected time of Homo habilis' existence are close to the dates where early stone tools were discovered, according to Haviland, Prince Walrath, and McBride in 2008. Following the Homo habilis in the line of human evolution was the Homo erectus with an even larger brain and was more able to adapt to the environment and provide solutions for survival. The culture of Homo erectus is mostly perceived through the tools they made. Now, I'm gonna show you the evolution of humans through time and let us all be surprised.
The Paleolithic period, or Old Stone Age. It is divided into three divisions. The divisions are labeled according to the layers of ground that tools were found in. These are the three divisions of Paleolithic period: the Lower Paleolithic period, the Middle Paleolithic period, and the last one is the Upper Paleolithic period. Let's tackle the Lower Paleolithic period. It marked the existence of the Homo erectus. The Homo erectus sought efficiency and made tools for specific tasks. During this period, the hand axe and other stone tools were created. Tools during this period were made by chipping off flakes from a core of rock from different angles. The Homo sapiens lived during the Middle Paleolithic period. They made more efficient tools, allowing them to do anatomical labor much easier, such as prying, lifting, holding, and pulling. Further specialization of tools was also done by creating uniform flakes of rock and detailing each one for a particular task. Lastly, the Upper Paleolithic period. Homo sapiens lived during this time. The blade, longer than a flake of rock, was the most distinct tool developed during this period. A further increase in specialized tools was also created during this period. The expansion of specialized tools reflected an increase in the population of the Homo sapiens and their exploration of new economic activities.
Now let's move on to the types of society that evolves through time. Each culture differs from another as each defines reality differently. Consequently, some people find it difficult to get along with and understand people's ways of thinking and doing. That's why people tend to believe that their folk ways are the only right and proper custom and regard others' culture as improper or uncivilized, just like in primordial societies. So here is the first type of society. Hunting and gathering societies. These are the earliest form of society. They are small and generally with less than 50 members and nomadic. The members survive primarily by hunting, trapping, fishing, and gathering edible plants. They are mutually dependent upon each other and everyone has equal labor where men are responsible for hunting and women for gathering. Next is the pastoral societies, where the members are relying on products obtained through the domestication and breeding of animals for transportation and food. Members are common in areas where crops cannot be supported and only have to move when the land in which the animal grazing is no longer usable. Next is the horticultural societies, where members are relying on the cultivation of fruits, vegetables, and plants in order to survive. They are often forced to relocate when the resources of the land are depleted or when the water supplies decrease. Next is the industrial societies, where members use advanced sources of energy to run large machinery which leads to an industrialization. Innovations in transportation led people to travel, work in factories, and live in cities. Occupational specialization became even more pronounced, and a person's vocation became more of an identifier than his or her family ties, as was common in non-industrial societies. Lastly is the post-industrial societies, where their economies are based on services and technology, not on production. The economy is dependent on tangible goods, people must pursue greater education, and the new communications technology allows work to be performed from a variety of locations.
Hi everyone, I'm Sherwin Bulilan and I will discuss the evolution of cultural and socio-political dimensions. The evolution of cultural and socio-political dimensions of humankind started from the Neolithic Revolution until the development of states and, in contemporary times, then the practice of democracy. So, based on this, the evolution of cultural and socio-political dimensions is a process from Neolithic Revolution until the development to contemporary times until the practice of democracy. Neolithic Revolution. First bullet. The Neolithic Revolution literally means the New Stone Age Revolution because of the polished tools that produce Such tools emerged during this period. Neolithic Revolution is the period when food production started. The invention of food production occurred in several parts of the world under different periods. Second bullet. As people learned the basics of food production and abandoned foraging, the domestication of animals and crop production became a common practice in communities. Before the Neolithic Revolution, humans hunted and gathered food for survival. However, once agriculture was developed, substantial changes in the lifestyle of humans took place. People had also started to settle in specific areas they called villages so they can grow crops and raise animals for their foods. Third bullet, the need for new technology and tools led to the higher demand for raw materials, such as obsidian and other sharpstone tools used in food production. The efficiency in food production allowed more time to develop arts and sciences through activities toward the advancements of civilization. Also, people started cutting timber to build houses. Eventually, communities were built as human population increased, which led to the rise of cities. Second is the early civilization and the rise of the state. The word civilization comes from the Latin word civis, which refers to a person who lives in a city, and civets, or the urban community in which one lives. As Neolithic villages grew into towns, the world's first cities developed. This happened between 4,000 and 6,000 years ago. First in Mesopotamia, now we called Iraq, then Egypt Valley, and Indus Valley, today's Pakistan and India. In China, civilization started 5,000 years ago. The first American and Indian cities appeared in Peru approximately 4,000 years ago. These are called the birthplace of civilization because there were archaeological evidences from early urban shows, organized planning by the authority, social and technological advancement, and their spiritual beliefs. Earliest forms of government. A king and his advisors typically headed the earliest city governments. Of the many ancient kings in the world, it was Hammurabi. Hammurabi was the king of Babylonia, who issued a set of laws now known as the Code of Hammurabi. It prescribed the correct form of legal procedures and determined penalties for perjury and false accusations. It contained laws applying to property rights, loans and debts, family rights, and even damages paid for malpractice by a physician, and a mechanisms to protect poor, women, children, and slaves against injustice. Second bullet, an efficient government bureaucracy was also a characteristic of some early governments. An example is the Inca Empire. The Inca civilization of Peru surpassed every other civilization of the Americas and most of those in Eurasia. The last earliest form of government is democratization. The idea of democracy originated in ancient Greece. Democratization is a complex, multilinear process operating under certain contexts and structures unique to each country, delimited by dominant global structures. So, democratization is the building of political institution, common interest, and new forms of legitimation. It requires building political parties and alliances capable of establishing credible national agenda and control of the military and crafting a constitutional arrangements including voting rules and distribution of powers. And also, democracy is the highest human achievement in political development because it gives the people a collective voice in governance. Here in the Philippines, we are still under democratic system and we have the rights to suffrage or the rights to vote public servants under our fundamental basic human rights. That's all. Thank you and have a good day ahead.
Let's have recitate. Wait lang kasi mag-end na po yung ano natin.
Patricia, end nyo na po yung Zoom natin, then i-start na
Okay
lang
po.
ako ulit.
Sige po, ma'am.
Thank you.